Nation, welcome to episode 138 of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. We've got a full house, so let's go around. Everyone just give the Cliff Notes version of who you are and your place in research. Maybe how long you've been doing it. Let's start with Chris. Nicolas Cage.
I don't really need, everybody knows who I am at this point. Come on.
Oh, come on, man. That is like a huge assumption.
Typical Hollywood stars, you know?
He's an A-lister.
So, site owner, business partner with Dan, site director, and done a little bit of everything at this point. CRO, CRA.
CRA now.
Yeah, CRA
we
now.
talked about that in 137.
Yeah, everything.
I'm Dan Sferra, everything as well. Let's get Stan in here.
Oh, wait.
Everything.
He wants you to outline.
Yeah.
Site
They
owner,
need to do it.
Site owner, CRA Academy, CRO, consulting, vlogger.
Awfully presumptuous to think you don't have to do it.
This could be someone's first.
Exactly.
Sean Paul lookalike, I get that.
Yeah.
I'll show you pictures.
Yeah, that's true.
When I was younger, Sean Paul, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, that's me.
Great, I gotta go after all this. Stan Gershevich, site owner, site director. I don't know, a lot of other titles that are in the typical daily operations, but still got a few years, probably maybe another 14 years before I reach the status of the guru. But that's it.
There's no status.
There's no status. So that's that. We're here at United Clinical Research. I'll turn it over to Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie. I work for United Clinical Research, and I'm a study coordinator / medical assistant as well. And been doing it going almost on a year now.
1 year. We're
Do you
really
enjoy
glad.
it?
Yes, I do. I've learned a lot, different from the medical field, but a lot involving with medical field and research. So
We're lucky to have Leslie on because she's, like she said, 1 year, right? About a year, so we can get like some good CRA Academy. This is good content for like you entry-level researchers, like those of you in the CRA Academy. And we also have another guy here, Doc. But he's not here, but he interns here.
He was here yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and you had nicely recommended him to come work after.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy after graduating your academy, and he's pretty stellar. And with 3 months worth of training, it's pretty kind of hard to believe that he can kind of get himself so ramped up so quick and be able to jump in with a already pretty dynamic research site. We have a lot of studies going on, different dynamics all the way around with different indications, and he's able to kind of jump in and to know that and catch different things, especially from a regulatory perspective. He's done really well, so kudos to you guys for good training with him. So, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. And we did a noisy video inside King Taco. That was an appetizer for this more detailed, because this rabbit hole goes deep. But we've got two people, so we want to get both of you, we'll go each one. Your expectations of clinical research before you got started, you as a site owner, you as a coordinator, and then reality
Sure.
a year later.
Yeah.
How did they match up? What did you think? Let's start with Stan.
Well, kind of piggybacking from where we started off in King Taco.
Great burrito, by the way.
Great
the
stuff.
all-meat burrito.
Thanks for lunch, guys. Appreciate it.
Wow.
So basically, like I was saying, we had a really good doctor that we had partnered up with. We had access to potentially start applying for research. We started with actually brokers. So, brokers are great to start off with if you can get them. Start off with them. But as you go along, you'll probably get yourself weaned off of that. And
Quick question for
Yeah.
you on that. Broker, was it a straight fee, or did they charge you a portion of the budget? How'd that work?
they charge you a portion of the budget, and it's typically the portion of the patient. So they don't include startup fees. They don't include any of the pass-through fees. It's only per patient. So what you would charge if it's a $5,000 per patient, they would get 10% of that. Some are asking 8%. So it kind of varies depending who you work
So a
with.
percentage of the
It's a
completed
percentage, exactly.
patient. Okay, not total contracts.
No,
We've actually
not total contract.
one time worked with a broker 10 years ago. It was total contract
Yeah.
percentage of it.
It varies. Some are different, but the ones we've seen is about 8 to 10% off of the per patient cost.
Okay.
And that's
kind of gone to that.
exactly.
A little more fair, but still kind of brutal too.
Exactly, exactly. It's nice if you don't have access to the studies, or if you don't work with folks like Dan or their group. You know, if you don't have access to studies, then ultimately you're going to have to, at some point, probably work with someone like that. And that's kind of what we did. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we start off. But again, we then started working, you know, we were recommended by some other sites. So knowing other sites and working with them.
Networking always helps.
Always networking. And it's funny is, you know, in other businesses, everybody's really protective of that business, and rightfully so. But my experience has been when I go to other sites or I speak with other owners or directors, coordinators, they're fairly open about helping you out. And so it's been pretty nice to have that type of, you know, those types of peers out there that you can reach out to. I reach out to Dan all the time. I reach out to other doctors, say, hey, I'm kind of stuck on this. You know, we're doing some regulatory. So I got hit the first time we got a study award. I got hit with regulatory documents, startup, 1572 FDF, something going, holy smoke, what is all this? It's when you're doing it, it's fine now. Like, it's not a hard thing for me to do now that I've been doing it for a little bit. But when you first get hit with it, who do you go to?
Yeah,
right. You don't have anybody to go to. Yeah, you're like, what are you doing?
What you doing is pretty easy.
Yeah, when you start seeing FDA, you know, this is going up there, you want to make sure you're doing it right. And so you've got...
It's getting scary.
It does. It gets kind of overwhelming. So...
Yeah, the BizDev thing we did, we built something to scratch our own itch. So when I started in 06, I really started in 05, but in 06 I realized I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I had a consultant come in. I found him on LinkedIn, and he was able to help us with the QA aspects. But then I was also asking him, hey, can you do BizDev? Can you negotiate my contracts? He didn't want to do it, and I was begging him. I was like, I'll pay you triple if you can do this for me. I know you have contacts. He never wanted to. He just wanted to do the QA. So that was always in the back of my mind, like, hey, one day when I figure this out, there's a need for this. Can't be the only one that feels this way, and that's how we started our BizDev. So that's kind of how that started. But yeah, thanks for sharing. So in reality, now a year later, what do you?
So we're just, as I said, we're under a year. We started our first study started August of 2017. So we're still under a year. It's you know, from what we expected and where we're at. We're above and beyond what we expected that we were going to get studies. Our initial goal was like, let's get one study.
11 studies.
So right, so we were able to get 11 studies, of which we have.
I think that's remarkable.
It's you know, our goal was, you know, we're well past what we set out to achieve, so that's good. But the reality with that, it comes also with a lot of downside, because if you're getting on studies and you're not fully operational and you don't have all the key personnel to run those studies, what you think you can do, what I thought we could do initially, isn't quite exactly what happens when you're in the study.
It's a little more complicated and involved.
It's a lot more complicated. And so while it's already difficult enough to just grasp on, I'm going to just achieve the study, because at the goal, when you're starting a site, you're like, I just want to study, I just want to study, I just want to study, I just want to study. It's all you're thinking about. You're not thinking about all these other regulatory aspects, monitors coming in, IMVs, you know, potential audits. Are you the top recruiter? How far are you on recruitment? What's your action plan? You know, do you have all your equipment calibrated? Do you have all your coordinators on par? You know, it's a lot. So, and with every aspect comes a little bit of a different benchmark, because our goal was, okay, we need to recruit. So we actually did. We have a big, fairly large community clinic, I would say, within where we're at. And so we were able to recruit, and fairly quickly we were recognized as one of the top sites. There was 45 sites in our initial study. Out of 45 sites, we were the 4th and 5th. Between the 4th and 5th, we would rotate with this other site out of Texas, I believe, of who's in that spot. So for a new site, you know, being a 5th out of 45 sites as far as recruitment goes.
Was this first study the one we were familiar with?
Yeah, you guys did an audit for that site.
So that was your first?
Yeah, that's our first study. So we actually contracted.
That's a hell of a study to be your first.
We were told. It had a lot of arms to it, and we were very inexperienced. We were just happy to grab a study. We're like, it's ours.
Well, you know what's hard with the OBGYN, without getting into the study specifics, and Leslie will get to you right now.
It's okay.
It's unlike
She's like, I'm good.
Okay. No, we gotta get yours. We have to. OBGYN, and Chris and I were talking about this when we were doing the audit here. It's deceiving. It's a little bit deceptive, because in a normal study you have one patient. That's
Right.
it, right? But in this one, it like multiplies into two patients
Two,
all of a
exactly.
sudden, like out of nowhere, and that's something you may not have planned for
We did not.
early on,
We
right?
did not. We did
Or
not
budget
plan.
for it, too.
We did not plan, and there was also a quick item that happened to us that we didn't budget in. Well, when I did the budget negotiations, I was like, oh man, I really did a great job on this. I mean, this is like phenomenal. I was like walking around with the budget going, check this out, and everybody's high-five, and we're like, man, this is really good. But the reality of it is we started getting into remote monitoring, which we did not budget in for. And we're talking about tons of scanning, tons of man hours
But
that
in
were
fairness,
put on.
you remote monitoring is new for even experienced sites, and they're not even planning for this.
Right.
We weren't planning for this, right?
So we got hit for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was new to us, was new to everybody, I guess, but we got hit for it, and we're thinking, man, look how many hours we're spending on this remote monitoring that we didn't budget for, so we're losing money. And so
Yeah.
you got to be really careful. You got to get folks that know this stuff, know budgets, know how to contract properly, especially if you're starting your research site and this is going to be your first study. Don't let the numbers deceive you. A lot of hidden things in those big figures.
Yeah.
A lot of those figures you may not even hit. They put some budgets on there that look appealing, like unscheduled visits. I'm like, oh man, look at this budget, unscheduled visit. We just get them in and then read a little bit deeper. Well,
Yeah.
they have to hit a physical, they have to do this, they have to
Yeah.
meet certain criteria.
It's funny how they do that, right?
So a lot of-
add over the
yeah.
overall budget, which is very deceptive.
Exactly. So
Because you're not incorporating those fees, right? You're not utilizing that service, and that's not getting paid for it.
exactly. So it's dressed up very nicely, but then when you start
Lipstick
adding,
on a
yeah,
pig.
exactly.
I want to give Stan a shout out because, so unlike most people who start a site, most come from either a coordinator position or a CRA position, or they're like a doctor, right? So they're not trained for sales. And we always talk about sales is important in research, just like any other industry. Your background was all biz dev. That's where you came from.
It was biz dev. I was part, a good chunk of my life was in a department of enrollment management for universities. So I think a lot of that, from a recruitment perspective, was transferred in, I guess, to a business development side, because we would develop business for the universities to recruit students for their bachelor's and master level degrees. And when you're competing with, especially in a for-profit sector, which is where I came from,
Yeah.
so you're competing with multiple schools, multiple lead flows, that you got to grab those within quickly, or some other school's going to call, they're in there for an interview, they're enrolled, and that's it, and you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
So some of those aspects worked for this field, and it seemed to have blended over very nicely for me.
Yeah. 11 studies in 8 months, or is it the opposite? 8 and 11 months? What was
We started, I talked to you actually, the first person I talked about research, because I honestly did not know what the heck I was doing. I was just like, it sounds really cool, and I have a friend of mine who was a monitor who was telling me about this for like 2 years, and I'm like, what is he talking about? What is this clinical research? I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And finally, when I got connected with our doctor, we started talking, and he did some research, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and I'm like, oh wow, this kind of matches with what we're doing, or what my buddy was talking about, and that's how we started, ultimately. But yeah, if you don't have some kind of background where you can position those skill set to work with sponsors, because that's who you're initially dealing with. I mean, you're either going to deal with a broker who's going to put you in contact with the sponsor, or you're going to somehow get onto that sponsor
Yeah.
directly, or a CRO, and you're going to need to know how to talk with them, because they are able to really kind of crunch you out in the first couple minutes of talking to you, because they'll email you first. Then depending on what you say on your email is how this is going to go. And so you can say the wrong things and you'll never hear from them again. They'll be like, oh yeah, we're just looking at site selection right now. This is going to be going on. So when they tell you we're looking at site selection is going to be going on for a while, you may have said something that maybe didn't go well. But if you say the right things and you've got everything pre-planned and you work with people that know the field, like I was saying, Dan was like the first guy that I called after that meeting. And that was back in 2016 of like November.
Yeah,
so,
I remember.
So that's actually when I just started getting
Was it
into
through
research.
YouTube, or how did you find
I
it?
found you through YouTube, yeah. It was Google, YouTube, something like
Yeah.
that. We saw your videos. I'm like, man, he's like the only one talking about this stuff. There's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
nobody else talking about this. Very limited
The plan
data.
is working.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Minions.
Minions.
Let it fly, minions.
It's
So
working.
that was kind of how we found you. So technically, that's when we started. Like end of 2016. That's when we scheduled our first PSV.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, we have
So you came out
OBGYN.
the gate, like
Yeah.
clinicaltrials.gov, is that how you got it?
Yeah, we got that one through clinicaltrials.gov.
Through you?
Yeah, we were searching on different studies, And that was our first call, and I remember getting the call, and I called one of our subways. I'm like, holy smoke, they actually called us. And so I was a little taken aback. I'm like, oh my god, what do we do now?
You didn't even have an LLC or anything set up yet?
I think we did
Yeah,
maybe
you
have
did.
the LLC set
Okay.
up. But yeah, it was kind of like, it was pretty surprising we got that call. And from there, it's been kind of, just...
And then Leslie enters the picture. How
Yeah.
did you enter?
Yeah.
Who are you, Leslie?
I actually was working before I came here at a pharmacy.
Oh,
But
okay.
then, the pharmacy in Beverly Hills. After that, they got this new system because I was doing their billing.
Yeah.
They were very behind on it, but then they got a program where the computer started working it for them faster and everything. So they got slow. And I was just there 10, but I actually was there for almost 8 months.
Okay.
And after that, I was like, I wanted to go back to the medical field because that's what I've done since 2004. It's pretty hard to get a job there now, because there's a lot of competition, a lot of things. They required a lot more licenses and more schooling or on hands, at the moment. So I brought my cousins down to the school down here. And next thing you know, they were like, hey, we're doing 3 months free training, front desk and billing and, on the medical field. I said, I'm willing to take it because that's what they're asking for right now. 'Cause
Really?
I've been out of
So
the
you
field for
started
a
out
minute.
interning.
So I went there. Off of there, I got told by a neighbor, which is my mom's friend, who said, hey, I have someone in the clinic that they need someone. And I feel like you can go to this interview and they're going to like you. I said, okay. So my perspective coming here to the interview was for the clinic.
Yeah.
But as soon as I guess Dr. Marina heard about me, she said, bring her up here. So as soon as I got interviewed by her, we and her clicked. She liked my potential.
Marina?
She liked.
She's awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then I talked to Stan as well. And next thing you know, that was on a Thursday. On a Monday, I was here already training. I'm like, okay, it's a medical field. I'm here for the medical field. And
What was the first thing they had you do? Because I saw you downstairs.
I started the training. for the-
GCP. She was on GCP like second day on it.
I was
It's
doing
like,
the
what is
testing
this?
and I'm reading over and I said, wait. This is research studies. I've actually been a guinea pig myself before in a study in
Oh, you
Glendale.
were?
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually did. And I'm
So
like,
you had some.
I had a knowledge of how and why and how it would work.
Yeah.
Because I've participated before. Never in my life did I thought I would be working and handling one or running one myself. But I love it. I love it just because I can combine medical field with research to the point that I love interacting with patients. I like building a relationship with them and making sure that the patient is always satisfied and leaves here knowing that they want to do it and that they know what they're doing and, to have them satisfied. And I've learned a lot, and I did come in here as an assistant and not too long ago, Stan and Doctor promoted me to become a study coordinator.
Congrats.
So I'm pretty fresh on that, but I'm there and I love to learn. Like
It's
I
a
said,
great
something
career.
new, it's always good.
A great career. A good coordinator is worth their weight in gold, and it's all supply and demand, right? Like, there's a shortage of researchers
Yeah.
all over the country, but
Yeah.
especially here
Yeah.
on the West Coast. So if you can learn this, you've got yourself a career, like, as long as you want.
Yeah.
I mean, research is not going anywhere. Coordinators become site directors. It's just, there's so many opportunities in this industry.
It makes a lot more sense to me now due to the fact where I see commercials and I'm like, hey, I work for that.
I really did.
I'm
I'm
doing
starting to
that.
see a whole lot of
I
commercials.
promote
too.
Yeah,
for
you
that.
notice
it
you know,
goes
I
now, right?
recruit people for that. I actually, screen people for this. Or we're just randomly, like I was at my doctor's appointment because I'm expecting, by the way.
Really?
Yes, in
What?
5 months.
I cannot
So,
tell.
I was at the clinic. They're like, "Oh, HPV, clinic." Da, da, da. And I'm like, I said, to my husband, "That's what I do."
Congrats,
So
by the way.
thank you. And I've learned to know more about it now. It makes more sense now. You know that a lot of the stuff that we have out there it has come through a study,
Yeah.
research, and now it's gotten out there, and that means it's improved.
Everything.
Everything.
So I kind of try to implement that in patients. Like don't be scared. Everything I think that's out there, half of the stuff, it's come through a study,
All of
research,
it.
and it came out to
Yeah,
now
all of
where
it.
it's something that we apply in our lives.
I say like this:
Fantastic.
you take Tylenol. Guess where that's
Of
going?
course, of course.
So,
Yeah.
So you've got that patient, you've got the empathy for the patients, you can connect.
Yes.
And now you're learning the inside baseball of how to operate research, like how to keep monitors happy.
Yes.
Have you had any upset monitors with you yet?
No, not yet.
No?
We've
Be
been on
honest.
top of it.
Not
No,
with you.
actually,
Not
no.
with
They've
her.
been.
No upset monitors with Leslie. Good, good. So you're learning what
Yeah.
keeps them happy because they recommend you for future studies,
Right.
right? What you guys
Absolutely.
are learning, right?
Yep, got to keep your monitors happy.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you've got all your reg stuff put in order. Make sure that you're prepared for the visits. Make sure you clean out. Our rooms. We've got nice space for them. Got some music goes on. We're a senior center,
Yeah.
but
Entertainment,
we have free entertainment. But as you start to find out, when you start your studies, you have one monitor comes in for one day. So it looks like, great. As you get more population and as you recruit more patients, all of a sudden you have 2 monitors for 3 days that are here with you and are living kind of with you. So as you recruit more, that's great, but you also have to be prepared for more monitors, more visits, a potential for audit. Get guys and teams that can help you with preparing for the audit, because as you know, you can quickly not have your stuff together, problems, and you have findings, you have protocol deviations, and those are things that you do not want to have add up. There's some studies that you're going to have it no matter what you do. You don't want to clean completely, because monitors is the first thing they say. They're like, well, if it was clean, then we'd know something's going on.
Yeah.
And so I go, lucky in our site, we're not. We have things going on just like any other site where we make our mistakes and we learn from them. But you have to make sure that your regulatory stuff is in order, all your binders are in order, you've got everything from the IRB approved, and so you want to make sure that is all handled by somebody in your site, whether it's you, the owner, director, or whoever that may be. That's who you want to make sure that's got control, because they can come in here and see that you don't have an IRB approval, and all of a sudden you've been, kind of recruiting. You thought, so you want to make sure you have all your things in order. So.
As we wrap up, because they're calling Leslie, you're busy, you're popular around here. And you want to have follow-up question? Anything? No? Nothing?
Chris,
From Nicolas Cage?
Well, we could discuss, if you think it's appropriate, what we discussed over at King Taco as far as appearance and the like.
Yes, let's do that. And if you have to get that, it's fine.
Yeah,
Don't worry about walking in front of the camera. But come back.
Okay.
we'll let it out.
Come back. No.
I'm just kidding.
Year 2, what are you planning? Now you're done with year 1. Year 2, what?
Year 2, our year 1 plan was to get studies, and we didn't think about it much more than that when we were planning out our business plan. But as the year was going on, our goal was to kind of go wider and not deeper, because we did go deeper, and that's fine. So we got our OBGYNs, because that's really our primary studies were women's. So we got that settled in. We got our...
And you I don't know if it was luck or planned, but it doesn't matter.
Probably some of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
You got started when OBGYN was hot.
Yeah,
Right.
There's a lot of studies.
And I think I remember telling you, you guys are doing good, but don't expect it to always be this. So I've been through the droughts when you're just focused on one condition or one therapeutic indication. It's ups and downs. So now you're doing, I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, you're right. So we spoke with our, PI who's an OBGYN, so we're heading more into the business side with him, where we're going to go a little bit wider. Mm-hmm. And we already have the great CRO that we're looking to partner up. So we got 2 oncologists.
And Benuni's awesome. He's doing a lot of this content marketing also.
Yeah, Dr. Benuni's doing content marketing with you for his. We have a fibroid study. We actually had a
Fibroid Institute.
Fibroid Institute that Dan's doing some marketing with, content marketing with Dr. Benuni, who's a partner with our site and the main PI for most of our studies. And so he's agreed with me as well that let's go a little bit wider and bring in some different indications versus banking everything on women's. Because as the roller coaster rides, we still have enough studies that I think could take us through maybe a little bit of a drought.
Yeah.
And then while we do maybe some psych study that we want to partner up with.
You want to plan right now for 2022.
Exactly.
Right. You're good for 19.
Yeah.
You're even good for 20. Maybe.
Exactly.
But, 2021, what if OBGYN dries up, right? So,
yeah, exactly. So the goal is to bring in different indications, go wider, bring in different PIs, sub-Is onto our site, open up different locations that are, far enough apart that it's not going to be apart.
So, question.
Yes.
Chris is going to...
Chris is going to Hollywood on me, man. I'm getting nervous.
He's a little bit off on a tangent here.
All right.
He looks...
the look is...
mischievous right now.
Is serious.
Really? Because it's kind of appropriate.
He's got
so I might be a little bit childish here, but I think I'd sit around laughing all day. So in one sentence, and I don't know if this occurs to you or not, but you said wider, deeper OBGYN.
Oh yeah.
He says OBGYN dries up. I think I'd be sitting around laughing all day.
And what about
So
the...
this never happens for you?
So no, I think we're caught up in the moment. I'm assuming there's probably some other humor that's in these indications, but I think when you're in the moment, you probably don't catch it. But those are good. Those are good pointers, Chris.
We didn't even get into the transgender. We are in LA.
Yes, we did. We did have. We did have.
Great ethical
yeah.
questions for 2018.
So
But that's another podcast.
that's the next podcast.
That's
We
the
can come
next
in and we'll
podcast.
talk about some of our adventures within clinical research.
That's the one for West Hollywood.
For West Hollywood, that's right. For West Hollywood Clinical Research, there are some, as Dan will probably go on some other episode, there are some interesting things that you are privy to that happen to you that you don't quite know how to handle, and you do need to take a step back and go, okay, well, is it in the inclusion-exclusion criteria? Well, no. And then you have somebody that could say, well, it's common sense. And you have somebody that will say, well, what's common sense? And so you're weighing out a lot of different things. And so you don't know what that is. But
When science is involved, it's whatever's true, right? When science is involved.
It's 2018. Who knows?
Yeah, but a belief does not outweigh fact.
Right,
Sorry.
Right. I love Jordan Peterson too.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome.
so
Fina likes him. Jordan Peterson got some fans. Do you know him?
no.
Oh, that's your next guy.
I went to go see him too when he was in LA.
Yeah?
It was great.
Oh, you're a huge fan.
Yeah.
I don't think
He's
I'd go
very
see him.
polarizing.
I
He's
agree with
very
everything he
polarizing,
says.
but he's very logical. And I'm a middle of the road guy, like registered independent. I could care. Socially liberal, fiscally conservative. That's who I am.
Right down the middle.
But I like this guy, and he's like, I guess he's not socially liberal, but he leans conservative very much. So he's this Canadian dude. That's why I like the podcast, because we can go off on tangents. But yeah, I'll show you after.
Yeah.
But-
There's some videos you can watch.
It's hard to say anything he states is not fact.
Right. And just the presentation.
Right.
Some people get upset with.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else? Research-wise?
Research-wise. Let's come back.
Let's come back. The appearance of the clinic. So
yeah.
let's describe it first. First of all, what is it, like 8,000 square feet? That's a huge.
It's
That's
pretty big.
both sides, right?
Yeah,
8,000
it's
square
both
feet?
sides, right.
Huge.
So one side's a true clinic, right, where patients are seen, doctors are involved.
It's a hybrid.
It's a community clinic that's, in this scenario, it's a nonprofit. It wasn't a nonprofit before. It is a nonprofit now.
Smart.
It is open. It's a walk-in clinic. So our dynamics is very different than most research sites. Because most research sites, I'll give you just a quick example for folks that are going to be starting out. They're like, all right, we're going to plan our appointments. They're going to come in at 9 o'clock. So we have our first one. I've got my files ready, and I'm ready to go. Well, in our case, we could plan for 9 o'clock, and then we got 4 walk-ins that came in. They are interested in research, and
Changes
we're like, wow.
everything.
So it changes dynamics. You gotta kind of.
That's a good thing.
It's
though.
a good thing because most sites struggle to get patients. In our case, luckily, we have patients coming in. It's about how we control that flow
Yeah, it's more handling the workflow.
and handling the workflow. So ours is a little bit different in that scenario. And
Right.
the neighborhood that we work in, they're open to research. We have research, clinic close to us that they do different indications. So we just happen to be situated in that type of a community. We do have 2 other sites. So as we go wider, we are planning other sites, and we already have them going.
Diverse.
So yeah, so that's kind of our less than a year, I guess. It's August, it'll be a year.
Yeah, we took some videos earlier. We probably won't combine it because I think we shot a bunch of videos today. Thank you, Fina, by the way. The King Taco one, before or maybe after, so people, once they learn who you are, they could see like the site tour. But we only got like the research side, so it doesn't look like a traditional clinic. We did not get the private practice side, which looks like a clinic. So the argument in this video is there is no ideal clinic. It's anything can work.
Exactly.
I mean, there's literally like a party room down there for seniors.
Right, we have exactly.
But that ties into your practice and the research and retention.
It's our
and
model,
recruitment.
yeah. Our model, and it became by accident. It wasn't we planned this model like, hey, bring in 40 seniors every day doing Zumba, and then the monitors will be ultimately really happy when they come in hearing music blasting from under their feet. So
Yeah.
for us as a site, we were ultimately concerned of how that's going to go during our first IMV. To our surprise, and that's kind of how you learn from whatever site you build. is that the monitor actually liked it. They were kind of dancing. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, I actually kind of like it because where I'm at, they usually coop me in some kind of room. I don't have access to anywhere. Here it's like pretty open. I hear the music. I feel good. And that makes us feel good. What I explained to her is the way that we recruit is we have access to our community. We do Zumba. We do different lessons for our seniors. The seniors have big families out here. The families come over here. They go and see dental, they go see OBGYN, pediatric. So that brings them in. We have events with food, and so they have food for the community, exercise. And if they don't come to the clinic, it's open to the community. It's not a problem. But if they choose to come to the clinic, it opens it up from the clinic. And if it's open to the clinic, it's open to research.
It makes so much sense.
So it's a kind of a triple.
Pay money to advertise on bus benches and billboards, and you guys don't need to do that because you have a room that's open to the community, and it feeds into your practice, to the research. It's the epitome of play to your strengths, right? Like, everyone has different strengths.
Yep.
Play to your strengths. That's it. Chris, anything else?
No, I think that covers it.
Nothing else. This was a good one. Anything else, Dan?
No, that's it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Random musings, very random in this case, from the clinical trials guru. Can't wait to interview the oncologists.
Yeah, that'll be
for future podcasts.
That'll be
You'll do that with me too, right?
Yeah, especially Dr. Funk.
Yes. All right. Take care, guys and gals.
Just to make Hoffman jealous.
And then send him a
Yes, make out.
Chris will be like, this is my first selfie.